Yeah, so we've done one canned beer in the past, but it was a collaboration.
We did a collab with Black Flag, yeah.
Yeah, Shared Kingdom. This is sort of the next step in that evolution. This is 100% our recipe. We've got the hops and the ingredients to elder pine, but we use their equipment to do the brewing and the canning.
Yep, essentially contracted, did a contract brew where we used a 30-barrel tank.
Yep.
And their canning line that they have on premise. So we were able to go there and sort of be there to supervise the brew, if you will.
Yeah.
And then you were just there yesterday for the actual canning.
Yeah, no, it was fun. We have a lot of respect for them. They've a relatively new brewery in Gaithersburg, but they're doing really interesting beers, and it seemed like a fun partnership to sort of bridge us to that next gap where either we'll be bringing in a mobile canner or we'll be getting our own little canning line, at some point in the future. At the moment, we just don't have enough tank space, honestly. Mobile canners are looking for generally 24 to 30 barrels is kind of a good price point, and for us, that would be mostly, like 3 weeks worth of production, at which point we wouldn't have beer to put on draft. We wouldn't have...
The focus is really to have enough beer for people in the tasting room here, and at the moment, we just wouldn't be able to keep doing that.
Yeah, so. And it just doesn't make financial sense to turn more profitable draft sales into less profitable can sales. Labels cost money, cans cost money, mobile canners cost money, and then in a lot of cases, you sell the beer for even a little bit less than it is on draft or in a growler. You want to talk about just like the label and the name and that just?
Cloud Palace is the name of this beer. It's a double IPA, hazy IPA.
A double IPA?
A double IPA.
So it's like two IPAs?
It's two condensed into one can. The art is pretty neat. Dustin Sinner is my cousin who's a great artist in Watertown, South Dakota. This is an actual painting that he did for us on canvas that should be arriving shortly that will hang in the tasting room.
And we've already got a couple of his paintings up already, showing a decanter basket and some stemware.
Exactly. And so he digitized the printing and then put together the whole label. So we're excited with how it turned out. And the name, Cloud Palace, is just kind of a play on mostly the mouthfeel of this beer.
Yeah.
A lot of our beers, we try to get a nice, soft, sort of fluffy mouthfeel.
Yeah, and obviously it's cloudy as well, so that just helps.
Play on both of them.
It was, the name was, there's a line in one of the Wheel of Time books about a palace of clouds, and so that was sort of what struck me about this one. But we don't have a real great common theme on our beer names. It's just sort of whatever seems like a good
It's hard to do.
Yeah. I guess let's taste the beer and then we can just talk a little bit
this will be my first time actually tasting one out of the can here.
We've talked to a lot of breweries that are concerned about not getting enough haze. This is plenty hazy, despite the fact that we add Biofine Clear, a vegan-friendly fining agent to just help drop out some of that yeast, some of that hop particulate.
Yeah, it might even kind of help speed up the conditioning time a little bit on these beers. It kind of pulls out some of those more astringent hop compounds, and that would otherwise maybe settle out over more time cold. But
and the haze really isn't from yeast. I mean, a well-made New England IPA should not be loaded with yeast. I know Trillium and some other breweries use centrifuges to pull most of that stuff out because they don't want a lot of sediment at the bottom of the can, and they don't want those rougher flavors associated with all the alpha acids that are stuck to the yeast or the
and again, it kind of just fast forwards the time that you can consume it at its peak.
Yeah, without risking oxidation, sort of the negative aspects of longer aging on a hoppy beer. And grain bill on this, I mean, it's got this great, I mean, really that orange juice look to it, despite the fact that we didn't put any colored malts in this, right? I mean, it was really just malted oats.
It's good.
I had this out of the can yesterday, so this is Scott's first time. Right? Yeah. We added malted oats, American pale malt, and chip malt. And that was pretty much it, right? Was there anything else in there?
I believe that was all of it.
Yeah. And so with these bigger beers, because there's just so much malt, you get a little bit more color than in a 4 or 5% beer where you might have half as much malt. And that's when we tend to add a little bit more, some Golden Naked Oats or some Caravienna to those paler beers.
Right, and if you were to scale up, and we've done this, where we've taken a smaller sessionable IPA, scaled up, basically the same grain bill that had a little bit of the color, crystal malt in it.
Yeah.
Actually, it was, in that case, it was Golden Naked Oats.
When we did concentric rings based on rings of light.
And keeping that same amount, scaling up to a double IPA, really had an impact on the color and the malt contribution.
Really malty, what do you get out of the nose? And first off, to me, it's just like, it's super fresh.
Yeah, mango.
Yeah, definitely like Simcoe. So it's Citra Simcoe was the dry hopping, equally split, just 50-50. Hot side was Simcoe, Idaho 7, and Centennial. So just sort of like fitting in some pieces. We've really been big fans of Idaho 7, but on its own, it can be a little bit almost too aggressive.
It's a green kind of green fruit kind of character that really is
unripe
strong.
Pineapple.
Really strong though. It can. One of the hops that we found really carries through the hot side process better than most.
And despite all the research, we don't have a great
We don't know
sense
why.
of what compound it is in particular, or and that's always the trick with science versus the artistry is science can give you explanations, it can give you ideas, but it doesn't define what makes a good beer.
Yeah, I mean there's data on paper and then there's beer in a glass. Sometimes it doesn't align. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mango 100% probably from the Simcoe. Citrus, and to me maybe more grapefruit than anything else, but not super fresh grapefruit juice or anything.
It's just incredibly soft, and there's hardly any green hop bite.
No,
for being just canned, it comes across very, very clean and soft.
Yeah,
little sweet, which I actually kind of prefer in the style.
It certainly helps that suggestion of a fresh squeezed mango or orange juice or something like that. There's a lingering bitterness though. When we've talked to some other craft breweries that do New England IPAs around here anyway, it sounds like they're using a lot less hops than we are in the Whirlpool and the kettle. In this case, we didn't pre-chill the Whirlpool. This was just sort of at temperature. With 66 pounds for 30 barrels. And so it's a pretty aggressive rate. The math says that it's 108 IBUs something. It's definitely not 108 IBUs.
And we probably...
the wort was 108 IBUs, but after dry hopping and yeast and pH drop, I mean, you lose, what is it, 30 or 40% of the IBUs in a lot of cases?
You lose the leafy material in hops is what's thought to kind of pull out hot side isomerized alpha acids. In this case, we actually probably retained a little bit more hot side bitterness because we used around 50% cryo hops.
Just each of them sort of equal amounts. 33 pellets, 22 cryo, and we just sort of, they were mixed in a little randomly. It was double dry hop, but we had more of one in the first one, more in the other, just because we didn't want to open up bags and not use the whole bag.
Exactly. Cryo hops are a relatively new hop product available for brewers, and we're pretty lucky that we were able to get some early on in the life of them as home brewers to sort of test out. It's basically, the idea is to get as much hop flavor you can from the lupulin gland of the hop with less of the...
Which is where most of the, I mean, it's both where the alpha acids are, but it's also where a lot of the, aromatic resins are, for lack of a...
The oils and the bittering acids are in the lupulin gland. And then, so you're concentrating that and then removing as much as you can of the green vegetal material.
It's about 50% of the vegetal material is removed.
Yeah.
So my understanding is for hop naming, so normal pellets are called T90s, and that means if you start with 1 pound of whole leaf hops, you end up with 0.9 pounds of pellets because of losses along the way. And with these, they're closer to T45, so you end up with about 4.5 pounds from, say, a 10 pound starting.
Right, and you're not just leaving behind that hops. Your T45 hopefully is concentrating more of the hop oils that you want and getting rid of more of the green stuff.
Yeah, and they market the other half. I think they've just rebranded them as American Nobles. Is the sort of
the left behind.
I don't want the waste product. I was just talking to Denny Kahn, and he's a big fan of them. His big complaint, though, is that they do provide a lot of polyphenols because you're getting more and more of the green material. But for him, it's longer conditioning really helps out to sort of drop
Level
that
that
polyphenol. But for us, I think we're benefiting from the other side where there's less polyphenols, so the beer is smoother and juicier early on without a really long conditioning time being necessary.
Yeah, and the cryo process is neat because they're doing that separation of the lupulin gland at such low temperatures.
So it's liquid nitrogens.
Believe so.
Yeah. We've started calling all these cryo, but was it lupulin or something like
cryo,
that?
L-U-P something, trademark.
Yeah. But cryo, it rolls off the tongue a little bit easier.
Yeah. But during that process, they're actually keeping the lupulin gland intact. They're not breaking apart at those low temperatures. And when you break apart the lupulin gland, that's when it's being oxidized, exposed to oxygen, and that's where you can have more of the alpha acids being oxidized into humulones, which are their bittering counterpart, which are very soluble and will make beers more bitter during dry hopping. And so in this case, it's not broken up, so you're probably having less of those humulones, so you're getting less bittering during dry hopping, and then with less green vegetal material, you're probably pulling out less iso-alpha acids. So
really necessary for a beer like this that's finished on the sweeter end of the scale for us.
To have a little balance.
To have a little balance, because for us, these beers are still IPAs, and one of the signatures of IPA for the last 150 years has been bitterness. And I know there are some New England IPAs that really are trying to play towards that juice, that almost have an artificial fruit juice kind of aroma and then almost no bitterness. And they're fun beers to have a sample of, but it's hard to drink two of them because you end up, it's just sort of cloying and sticky.
And you run the risk sometimes of having, I should have a better term, but almost a flabby beer when there's no hot side hopping done at all.
Yeah, and I think having the pH get too high leads to that as well, that we're pretty aggressive on our acid additions, trying to keep that pH down at a reasonable level. Dry hopping raises the pH, and you lose that sort of that crisp, solid finish.
Yeah, exactly, and lupulin helps a little bit with that as well. Our cryo, it doesn't. I believe it doesn't raise the pH as much as pellets.
Pound for pound?
I believe so. Well, that's tricky because you're supposed to be using cryo at half the amount you would pellets. Is in terms of dry hopping, we kind of treat it just like a pellet.
Yeah, I think we backed down a little bit. Usually, we would have done 100. We would have done 132 pounds, 66 pounds twice, and this one we did 55 twice. So we knocked out about maybe a third of the weight of the cryo. So we sort of treat it as like 33% concentrated rather than 50% concentrated. Yeah,
and the reason we like to split them up too, and not just, well, if cryo is so great, why aren't we just doing 100% cryo hopping? Well, you get different volatiles from them. In my opinion, the pellets are a little softer fruit sort of character from dry hopping, and the cryo is just more intense. It's just...
It's even a little danker sometimes, particularly the Citra can come across. Like Citra is usually sort of fruity and dank, and the cryo is dank and maybe a little fruity.
So, but it can kind of help the original character of the pellet pop a little more. But not, to use a blend, you kind of have more of a complex hop character, which I tend to like. So 30 to 50% is sort of kind of where we like to keep the cryo at.
And there's sort of other kind of competing products. We just got some hop hash, which is a similar idea that they've concentrated the lupulin.
It's the sticky icky of the hop.
And honestly, for us, part of it is that we do, again, a pretty high kettle rate, and Elder Pine was a little nervous, and it was sort of pushing their system, lost some more volume than we were expecting from that high hopping rate. And we're hopeful that using cryo or hop hash or just T45 pellets is a way for us to get more alpha, more of the good compounds into the kettle. It's also tricky because cryo is only available in maybe 5 or 6 varieties. Centennial, Simcoe, Mosaic, Citra, Laurel.
And Azaka maybe is a new one?
Azaka or maybe Crystal. And so like Idaho 7 wasn't available as cryo, but it is available as a hop hash. It's a similar idea. It's about double the alpha. I don't know if for the hop hash process, I don't even know actually who's making it, like what company.
Yeah, that's something we need to dig into a little bit more. But we do have some Idaho 7 hop hash to coming
experiment.
and play with. Yeah,
in
so.
in the walk-in actually.
Oh, it's already here.
Um,
So this has been an educational sort of first go at a canning run for us, and we look forward to doing another one next month with Snip Snap, another one of our double IPAs. And Paul at Elder Pine did an excellent job spearheading this for us, and we're more than happy with the result. And we look forward to getting this beer in people's hands this coming Sunday as our general public release at noon, the 28th. So, cheers.